back to the IRL Twitch channel, and I hope you're ready for what is going to happen this week. If you are here for round 2 in Imola, you will know all about our sprint race format that mirrors the real-life Formula 1 schedule. We can't mirror it exactly due to the number of laps options that we have. So if you are not familiar with it, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a short qualifying session, so 18 minutes. Drivers have 18 minutes to choose whatever tyres they want and get as quick as they can. That qualifying will set them up for, as you can see in the bottom left of your screen, an 18 lap race, a 25% race, where it will be 3 points awarded for first place, 2 points awarded for second, and 1 point awarded for the third place finisher. The result of the sprint race will determine the grid for the feature race, which will be a normal 50% race. So that is what's going to be happening this week across all 4 tiers. Obviously we're used to sprint race and feature race for F2, so F2 will be as it normally is. But for the 3 Formula 1 divisions this week, that is what we're going to be doing. 15 drivers. And of course no Q1, Q2 and Q3, so this qualifying session does make a lot of difference. Around the Red Bull Ring in Austria, in the heart of Europe. Very popular track. Fan favourite it would seem. We did a track vote before this season started on what tracks to on what course, but especially this week seems to be a track people enjoy, people love coming back to. It is a very short circuit. Expect to see maybe around the 1 minute 3s, 1 minute 4s in qualifying, so that is kind of what we're expecting. A bit slower than the previous game, but due to the performance patch on this game a number of months ago, those are the kind of times we're expecting to see in quali. And of course we're going to see an array of medium and soft runners. I can't tell if Ghost's lagging or that's just my internet. We'll have to wait and see. Fingers crossed I don't lag out like I did last week, and again my apologies if you were there for that. Evening to you, Wiggles and Dayman. Hope you well. Going well with Ghost. The track is going to fill up fast, so we'll get our tractor in nice and quickly for the week. Then you get DRS down this main straight. Hit your braking point from 8th to either 5th or 4th gear, depending on your preference. DRS activation all the way towards turn 3. Yes, this little left-hander ahead of you now is technically turn 2. I know, crazy as it seems, but heavy braking zone down to 2nd or 3rd gear for turn 3. Out of turn 3 you get some DRS, and this is going to be a big action sector. Pick your braking point for turn 4. Very common to see drivers going 2 wide or 3 wide perhaps in that corner, and even still side by side towards turn 5, which is trickier than it looks. You can run wide there and get a warning or an invalidation, very easy to do that. Turn 6 and 7, 7 and 8 even. Again, make sure you don't get a warning. Pick your turning point for turn 9, very easy to run wide too, and turn 10, harder than it looks. Don't cut it too much. On the inside there is a yellow sausage curb that will murk your car. And there you go, 1 minute 4.2 for Ghost to start the evening and the week off. Interesting to see if anyone can beat that on the medium tyres. We've got Flew on the softs, Ryan is out on the softs as well. Getting out of the way is Kement's in the Red Bull. There is going to be a lot of congestion on this track. Let's get full track map on. Let's see what I can do. It's a 104.4, which means that Ghost's time at the moment seems like it's a very good one indeed. And of course, if you are in the top 10, in qualifying. Whatever tyre you use to qualify in the top 10, you're going to have to use that same set of tyres in the race. Lil Samp's had a moment in the final sector, and he is without a front wing. So that is not good news for him. On board with Greg, his second race in no assist tier. Did really well last week, getting some points on his debut. Never easy adapting from assists to no assist racing, but Greg is doing that, so all credit to him. Prev has gone third fastest on a 1:04.5. Dayman's done a 1:05.001. Hyper's done a 1 minute 6 and currently in 6th place. Lil Semp with that broken front wing, that time will be beaten. There's a spinner, I think that is Kemmets in the Red Bull. Track is filling up fast, 11 cars out on track. Mr. Wiggles goes 4th fastest on the medium compound tyre, so not a bad lap there from Mr. Wiggles. Greg goes 7th. That guy 9th at the moment. Kemmets, that's a slow lap from him, he'll go again. Tidy's Bear on the mediums too. Bit of an even split at the moment. Ross is out there on the yellow marked mediums as well. Ripley's got them equipped on his car, but he's still in the pits. Thank you for the follow, Tommy Clarkson. Appreciate that, man. Hope you're enjoying the streams. Loads of streams on this channel every week as normal. Tuesday for no assist, Thursday for assist tier 1, Saturday night for F2, and Sunday night for assist tier 2. Tidy's Bear goes 8th fastest, using the medium tyre, so not too bad as well. However, that guy has improved on his second run to 2nd place on the mediums, only a 10th away from our current pole sitter Ghost. So not a bad lap there from that guy either. This is one of the tracks where you can probably get away with qualifying on the mediums, just because it's a short track. It's obviously, you won't lose as much time because there's not as much track to drive, if you get what I'm saying. So actually the mediums might not be too bad of a shout to qualify, especially for those towards the higher end of the grid with a bit more pace than the rest. Ooh, Ross just getting out of shape there. Shouldn't have cost him too much time, but won't help them for confidence. Ross goes 6th, a couple of tenths behind Mr. Wiggles, but ahead of Flu. Greg has gone for another run on this same set of softs and is fractionally up through sector 2. And is going to back off. But just running wide there at the exit of turn 4, easy to do. Get a bit too eager on the throttle and plant it as much as you can, but got to be careful you don't go too wide. Thankfully Mr. Colucci has left. I may have had to send him a disappointing Xbox message, so thank you for leaving. Up has improved meanwhile to a 1:05.3, so not too bad. 9th place for him at the moment. Ross has had a lap to recharge the battery, and he'll go again on that same set of mediums, so he's persistent to try and get as much performance out of those mediums as he can. If you're a driver and you're in the stream chat, let us know what the weather's doing. At the moment it is sunshine. That doesn't mean that the weather's going to be the same for the race, of course. In fact, 2 races, so yeah. Ross, a little bit of traffic ahead of him. Aston Martin, AlphaTauri, Red Bull. All those cars haven't started their laps yet ahead of him, so But Ross may get a nice bit of slipstream here from Prev, who seems to be starting a new lap. Ross goes 4th fastest. Talking of Prev, he's just displaced him, so we'll go on board now with Prev and see if Prev can try and retake that 4th place from Ross, who is the fastest of, 3rd fastest of the mediums so far. This is their best lap time and the tyre they've used. We'll tell you a little bit about our featured driver in the 5-minute break. Still got loads of racing left, so we won't miss out too much. Prev, just under a 10th to the good. You need to be careful on that left-hand curb there, on the inside of turn 7. As Ghost goes fastest by another 3 or 4 tenths, this time on the soft compound tyres, extending his grip on pole. Prev, marginal gains, only a fraction away from Ross. He is just over 100th slower than Ross, but has retaken 5th. Kemments went 6th in the moments prior. But this man, Ghost, is on fire, as it would seem. Thank you for the volley, Stanley44, appreciate that. Hope you're enjoying the stream, son. Mr. Wiggles was up by 4 tenths and invalid. And good morning, Big Daddy Kate, appreciate that. Nice to see you. I see you comment a lot on the Sunday nights, so it's nice that you kind of join the Tuesdays as well. Always nice to have people in the chat chatting away, but no pressure, of course. Deton just a little bit wide out that final corner, it looked like anyway, but got away with it and goes 12 fastest. Ripley, just the one outlap so far for him. He's on soft tyres. Currently Ghost is on pole by half a second there or thereabouts. The rest of the field, pretty close indeed, only 1 second separating that guy in 2nd and Hyper in 10th. So still very, very close, and of course people are using the mediums, so as soon as they use the softs, times are going to tumble. Things might even be even closer right at the top. So Ripley, first lap of the session for him. What can he manage through Sector 2? 45.4. I have no idea what that means in relation to everyone else. Ryan has just gone 2nd fastest on a 1 minute 4.1. That's a nice lap from him, but still only one driver into the 1 minute 3s right now. Prev's come back out onto the track. Ripley goes 11th fastest, a couple of tenths away from the top 10. Remember, it doesn't matter what tyres you use to qualify. If you finish 11th to 15th, you'll get a free tyre choice for the sprint race. About Mr. Wiggles, well, he's into the pits. I'm sure he'll put on a set of softs in a few moments' time. Lewis gone 4th fastest. Nice lap from him. 1 minute 4.4. Actually, he may have done that a while ago. Guilty of not paying proper attention there. Obviously, do need to be careful for the pit entry on this track. If you're aware of this track and are familiar with it, you'll know that, especially in the race, if someone goes into the pits and uses the proper line, it can actually impede someone and slow someone down through turn 9. So you've got to be careful going into the pits. Hyper starting a new lap, has Lil Semp tailgating, so I wonder if either of them. I think Lil Semp probably thinks that Hyper's not on the lap, but I think Hyper has just started one, so Lil Semp is possibly going to race. Hyper's slowed down, and Lil Semp has as well at the same time. That's rather unfortunate for the pair of them. Getting really into watching this, but I appreciate that. We love to entertain. And, yeah. So you said good morning. Obviously, where we are, UK time, which is where I am streaming, it's 7:45 in the evening, so let us know what time it is where you are. Here comes Prev. Slow lap for him, but he'll go again. 3 minutes left of the session, which means it is really now crunch time. As you can see, everyone is on the soft tyres out on track. Tidiest Bear has the mediums, but he's in the pits at this moment in time. California. What I do to be in California. Always wanted to go to America. Never had the opportunity to. Maybe one day. Oh, big slides from Prev coming out of turn 4, and Lil Semp is disqualified from the session for blocking the pit lane. So possibly moving out of the way for another driver, or maybe has had a spin on the exit of the pits. Either way, Lil Semp will be starting 15th. Again, that is quite common on this track, so for any drivers in IIRL watching for the rest of the week, something to look out for. Ross goes third fastest. You saw in the background there the McLaren coming around the final corner as Prev had a marginal improvement. Ross has gone third fastest. Still, only one driver into the 1 minute threes. Doris, how you doing, man? Hope you're well. What about Mr. Wiggles? Well, he's a quarter of a second up in the end of Sector 2, so this is going to be a decent lap from him. And might put him into the 1 minute 4.1s. And indeed it does. It puts him on the front row of the grid, in fact. Just ahead of Ryan and Ross. Look how close those three are from second to fourth. Flew marginal gains through Sector 2. And that could be the difference between P6 and P5 for Flew at the moment. That guy is on an outlap. Wide at turn 9, and that's cost Flew definitely that lap. And Ghost has a 5-place grid penalty for impeding another driver. I wonder what's happened there. Ghost is on an outlap, as you can see on your screen. And yeah, we're not quite sure what's happened there, but sometimes if you block someone, you do get a grid penalty in quali. And that has happened here tonight. Whether that was a justified one, or whether that was just a game issue, remains to be seen. Ross is going faster in Sector 1, so Ghost at the moment will be starting 6th place. And Wiggles, Ryan, Ross, Prev and that guy will jump up a place. Ross, meanwhile, is going almost 2 tenths quicker in Sector 2. And at this stage in the session, that is a good time gain. But it's invalid at turn 9. Once again, lots of drivers being caught out by turn 9 track limits. It would have been second fastest. What about that guy? He has set his personal best on mediums, but he's half a second off on this run. And the checkered flag has fallen, which means that guy, unless he can have a big gain in this final sector, can't improve on P6. Ryan is finished in 3rd, Flew is finished in 7th, Greg is in the pits, so we'll start 11th on the grid. That guy will finish P6. Tidiest Bear in 13th at the moment. Those are all the drivers that have finished. Of course, Lil Semp is disqualified, so he'll start 15th on the grid. Mr. Wheels finishes the session in 2nd place. Nice qualifying from him. Dayman will start 9th on the grid. That is unless anyone below him can't improve. Ripley is 11th. Ghost Tomino has finished his session. He is the one to beat right now and possibly has pole position in the bag, but of course he has a 5-place grid. Comes across the line. It's an improvement, but not in his place. He misses out on P7 by 3 milliseconds. That is how close qualifying can get here in Austria. What about Deton? Is he on the lap? No, he's on a slow one, so he'll start 14th on the grid. Hyper comes into the pits and will start in 10th. Well, that was eventful, and I felt like I haven't stopped talking for 18 minutes there, but that's all good. This is your grid for the sprint race. 18 laps around this beautiful Austrian circuit awaits. We'll have a few minute break, I think. I really should know if there's a break or not, but we'll find out. Thank you for the follow, Jarno Kootmeer. Great username. Love that. So Ghost qualifies on pole by 0.3 of a second, which is a massive margin at this track. But some blocking, the game deemed, giving him a 5-place grid, which means he'll start 6th. Wiggles now will be on pole. Ryan on the front row, Ross alongside Prev. And we have that guy in Ghost, Flu, Kemence, Dayman, Hyper rounding out the top 10. They'll have to start on the same tyres they used to get there. Ripley, Greg, Tidiest Bear, Deton and Semp all have a free tyre choice outside of the top 10. Silly track limits, indeed, but you know. That is one thing about this game people don't like, is the track limits. Especially for Jeddah. Very inconsistent. Especially in time trial. So, yeah. I get it. So obviously with a sprint race, 25%, which means it's just going to be a standard soft to medium or medium to soft. So don't expect to see any hard tyres, especially on this track as well. Tyre wear isn't massively great. So if someone does box on that one for damage, expect to see soft or mediums go on the car. Expect to see a lot of wheel-to-wheel racing. This track does throw a lot of action your way. A lot of side-by-side racing. Not just through certain corners, through certain complexes of corners. Big action points are towards turn 3 and towards turn 4. You will see some drivers going side by side out of turn 4 towards turn 5 and turn 6 as well. Of course, 3 DRS zones on this track, so plenty of opportunities for drivers to make the most of being within a second of the car in front in the DRS zone. And we will be getting underway very shortly. Just a little bit of chat in Discord about Ghost's grid penalty. Just weighing up if it's worth a bit of a restart. Because it seems like Ghost's grid penalty was a bit of a A game error, perhaps. But I think we're going to be carrying on. Remember, it's only 3 points for the winner of the sprint race, so it's not the end of the world if Ghost doesn't win this. 4 points are on offer after this race anyway for a full 50% race. And, oh, Mr. Colucci is here. So I'm just going to message him to leave. I've just messaged Mr. Colucci in the second McLaren to leave. He isn't supposed to be here. Fingers crossed. He sees the message and leaves. The AI of him shouldn't be an issue if he does leave. It will just ghost him, so... But it would just be a massive shame, for instance, if Mr. Colucci were to race here when he's not supposed to and take someone out. So... Fingers crossed. He does leave. As for the meantime, though, here come the 5 lights in Austria. The sprint race is underway. And it looks like Ryan has had a bit of a bad start there. Seems to be a little bit swamped. Moving over to the inside. Bit of tyre contact there between a Ferrari and one of the Aston Martins. Ross goes right wide at turn 1, possibly shoved off the track there. A lot of drivers... side by side, jockeying for position up towards turn 3, but as for Mr. Wiggles, he's got a perfect start. Ghost. Oh, and there's a spinner. That guy. Or is it Prev? It's Prev. Prev contact, or maybe it was just the kink of turn 2, and the car didn't respond well to that with all the fuel and tyres on board the car. But he is round, and as you can see, he is at the back. It's not the end of the world, of course. There's a race after this as well, but Ghost is up. Oh, what's happened to Mr. Wiggles? It seemed like either he missed his braking spot or his wheel just disconnected there for a minute. There's a bit of a wiggle there from Wiggle, like a bit of a weave there. So I wonder if his wheel was just disconnected. If so, that is desperately unlucky, and Ghost finds himself back where perhaps he should be, at the front of the pack, after being given an unfair 5-place grid. Greg has retired. Hyde has left the session. Ross has also disconnected as well, so maybe some internet problems going on. Greg's left the session as well. Ghost and Ryan fighting for the lead in turn 3. We did say it was an action point, so watch out for that. Oh, we're restarting. We are restarting, so yes. Silly Mr. Colucci for not listening to the Sun God in his messages. Thank you for the follow, WR Felipe, WOR Felipe even. Appreciate that. Hope you're enjoying the stream. We will be having a restart, and maybe as well Ghost can get his 5-place grid removed, so it's not the end of the world. Yeah, we're just restarting, and fingers crossed it won't be too much of an issue. Right, we are back in the lobby. Apologies about the silence, just inviting everyone back to the lobby who should be here. Hence why they're joining now. Just waiting for one more person. Not sure who it is. But if you are watching and you are in the lobby right now, please pick your car as soon as you can so we can get the custom grid sorted. Well, I have to admit, it's been a long while since we've done a good old lobby restart, so we do all right on this channel, avoiding all these unnecessary restarts. I cheer for Tidy's better, mate. I cheer for Tidy's better too. I cheer for all these drivers. I know that sounds a bit cheesy, but no, I cheer for Tidy's better. I think he's improved a lot in the last 6 months. So yeah, sounds weird, but as part of management here, you kind of get quite attached to how people are improving and driving and stuff. So when you can see real improvement in some drivers, you know, you actually become quite proud of them. So I know it sounds a bit cringy, but yeah, really proud at Tidy's Bear's improvement this season compared to last. Here we go. Not too much of a problem in terms of the restart there. Of course, the top 10 will have to start the race on the same set of tyres they used to get into the top 10. Obviously, those outside the top 10, they can have a free choice. Ghost's grid penalty, I believe, is removed. So that was unfairly given to him in qualifying, and he will start on pole. Obviously, drivers are reminded to choose their setups. You don't want to forget those. We'll go through the grid again when we get underway. Excuse me. Now's a good time to tell you about our featured driver for this evening. Featured driver tonight is IRossJ. You'll see Hyper in NA and Assist Tier 1. He is British, uses a Thrustmaster TMX wheel. Favourite F1 drivers are between Max Verstappen and Mika Hakkinen. Favourite track is Silverstone, where we will be next week, so join us for the British Grand Prix next week. Season aspirations, well, he got the most DNFs last season, so he's praying not to DNF every race this season, so fingers crossed. And he has just recently adapted to no assist as well, so Hyper's done pretty well, I think, getting into P10 in qualifying here at Austria tonight. His IIRL involvement in this league, he is a driver in both no assist and assist tier 1. He's the assist tier 1 head, he does a lot of results as well. He heads up the social media, so he posts races to YouTube after the Twitch races go up on the channel. So check out our YouTube channel if you don't know. Check the link out in the Discord. If I can find the link in the break after this race, I will post it in the Twitch chat. He's a dispute steward, so basically, if you have an incident in a race, you can send in a clip, have the steward look at it, and if the steward decision comes out and you don't agree with it and you want to appeal, you send it to a dispute steward, and Hyper is one of the handful of dispute stewards we have. And he says his strengths are qualifying pace. Hyper will be hoping to convert this 10th place in quali into a good finish. Obviously the sprint race a little bit different. 3 points for first, 2 points for second, 1 point for third place, just in this 25% race at the moment. Full points will be awarded for a 50% race, which will follow this race immediately. But for now, it's going to be fast, it's going to be frantic, and we're at Austria. Mr. Wiggles this time having a slightly bad start in P2. It was Ryan on the first attempt. There goes Ross down the inside. Bit of contact between Ryan and Ross. Mr. Wiggles down to P4, but Ryan had a bit of a poor exit of turn 1, going over the exit curb, so he's lost P3 to Wiggles. But down the inside now goes Ryan on Wiggles. Side by side also we have Flew and that guy. Wiggles just cutting the inside of turn 4 there. That guy staying ahead of Flew in turn 4 also. Side by side we have Semp and Hyper again at the exit of turn 4, so plenty of action to start this race. Seems like no one has dropped massively off the pass. English words. Seems like no one's dropped massively off the pack, so everyone's got away. No foul play involved. Ghost leads Ross. And I have to say, coming out of turn 2, turn 3, Ghost looked like he had a good lead, but Ross is chipping away and is right back underneath that wing of the Ferrari. Side by side we have Tidiest Bear and Dayman. Tidiest Bear now up into 10th. Nice exit out of turn 3, leaving space for Dayman's Mercedes on the outside of the corner. Comes little Semp, braking as late as he possibly can. Tidiest Bear just cutting turn 4 there, getting a time penalty. Side by side we have Semp and Dayman. A little bit of contact perhaps. Semp's got the soft tyres on, Dayman the mediums. Sticking it around the outside. Good driver, respect. And Semp has got the better of that battle. He's up into 11th. Cameron's getting past Flew on the main straight. DRS is now enabled. So on this straight, there you can see rear wings are starting to fly open on the car. Here comes Ryan down the inside of Wiggles, but just backs off of that move. Doesn't think it's a sensible opportunity. They were stamping another time penalty a few moments ago. Little gaps starting to form in the field. Tidiest Bear without DRS on Ripley. Deton and Greg without DRS on the car in front of them. It's super close. You see we're still just at the end of lap 3 now, so Mr. Wiggles in the fastest lap of the race. Expect that to be beaten before the end of the Grand Prix. Here comes Ross now. You can see him gaining. Hyper time penalty for him. Lap 4. And there goes Ross up the inside of Ghost in what we would like to call a routine Austria move here at the Red Bull Ring. Ross now does not get DRS. Here comes Ghost. Quite close enough to make a move. So we have Prev and Ryan going side by side. Bit of a touching of wheels between the two. Oh, and Prev had to really counter a slide there, otherwise there would have been big contact between him and Ryan. Good car control, I have to say, from Prev. Credit where credit's due. Oh, and he's just got a bit of oversteer on the exit of turn 8 and a collision with his teammate. Well, rule number 1. And I know this wasn't on purpose. You could just sense it wasn't on purpose. It was completely accidental. But rule number 1, never crash into your teammate. Unfortunately for those two Aston Martin drivers, they've had a bit of a nightmare there. Ross, beautiful move around the outside. Finding the traction on the track. Here comes Ghost, he has DRS. Inside line into turn 4. Cuts off the space. Mr. Wiggles looking to get in on the Act 2. Ryan is lying in wait. Clements is in 5th. Ripley, good start from him. He's up to 6th place. Passing flew in the last few moments. Clements now fighting hard to try and get the DRS on Ryan. Try and maintain pace with this top 4. And if we're being honest, this could go on for the rest of this race. Top 5 now. Clements has caught up to the back of these leading 4 drivers. Here comes Ghost defending from Ross, but no move up into turn 3, but this is where Ross will look to capitalise. Over speed, gets the move done. Ghost braking as late as he possibly can. There is space for him on the exit, but Ross has got that move done. Nice driving from Ross. It's top 5 now, starting to pull away from Ripley. Of course, Ripley doesn't have DRS on this top 5, and Ghost, Wiggles, Ryan and Clements all have DRS on the car in front of them. So these top 5 now are going to start to put a bit of a gap on Ripley, who pits. Wiggles having a look down the inside of Ghost into turn 1, but both drivers have the rear wing open. So no distinct advantage for any one of them. Clements pressurising Ryan in the background. Ghost retakes the lead. We very well could have a race just spectating these 5, to be fair, but we'll try and get around the grid as well. Expect to see Ghost and Ross and maybe Wiggles as well take the lead of this race and lead the lead of this race and lose the lead of this race, sorry. Semp and Ripley. Ripley's just come out of the pits on a brand new set of mediums. Semp has pitted a couple of laps prior. Dayman, bit of an issue coming out of turn 4 perhaps. Lost a place to Deton and Greg. Again, side by side, Greg just had to back off of that one. Clements and Ghost start into the pits. This line into this corner from Dayman may have given people the indication he was pitting, but he's not. So where is Clements going to come out of the pits? Is he going to be ahead of Ripley? Kemmets is a few seconds up the road, so Ripley has gained a second on Kemmets by pitting a lap earlier, but by no means a threat to Kemmets, perhaps, at this moment in time. Question is, are those top three going to pit this lap? Ross, Wiggles and Ryan. All three of them under pressure now, and they all come into the pits. Flew and Hyper now, eyes are on them as to whether they enter the pits, and they both do. Hyper has retired from the session, in fact, so he'll start 14th for the feature race. Lots of drivers exiting the pits. Deton stays out. He is the leading runner on the original set of mediums, so he now leads the race. Ghost is in second, Ross is in third, Wiggles fourth, Ryan in fifth, and Kemmets in sixth. That is very much as we left them. Tidiest Bear is in seventh place, but yet to pit. Then we have this battle between Ripley and Semp for eighth place. These two very much fighting for position here. Semp has slightly more worn tyres, but these two will easily go to the end. Deton into the pits, releasing this top five, very much as they were. Tidiest Bear stays out another lap. Nice turn one there for Kemmets. Ryan struggling in turn one. Maybe those mediums just aren't his cup of tea. And Kemmets up into fourth. But now, crucially, a second behind this top three. Needs to push hard if he wants to keep the effective DRS on his car. I feel like this race is turning into a game of chess for these top three. It's very much, can we reduce other people's ERS and then use the effective DRS to get past at the end of the race. Of course, one mistake, one spin here can send the driver to the back of the field. No safety car in sprint races. Tidiest Bear into the pits for his routine stop. There goes Ross into the lead of the race. Tidiest Bear gets 5 second penalty for speeding in the pits. Easily done on this track. These top three are so close to each other. Look at Wiggles. I mean, if anything, I feel sorry for Wiggles here because he's stuck behind Ross and Ghost, who are fighting for the leads almost every lap. And it feels like there's no room for Wiggles to kind of drive his car into. He has to keep predicting when these two are going to break and make sure he doesn't run into the back of them. Side by side go Ross and Ghost, and Ross retakes the lead. Nice move there. This is basically a highlight reel for how to overtake on this game. Hope you're enjoying this. Lap 11 of 18. This is just a sprint race. We're going to have a 50% race after this, where full points are on offer. Top five leave Ripley by 4 seconds, as was the case before Ripley made a pit stop. Here comes Wiggles round the outside of Ghost. Potential contact there, but no, I think they were well behaved. Wiggles is really on the charge here. Had to lift off the accelerator. You heard that, because Ross obviously doesn't have the DRS. Wiggles just would have driven into the back of him. So Wiggles here is losing out. But can Wiggles get a move done on Ross? No. This is so can't think of the word. Precarious. That's the word I'm looking for. This is so precarious. One Slight moment of oversteer can send you into another car, send them off the track, give them massive damage. I would know. I was in an Assist Tier 2 race a few seasons back with Mr. Wiggles, who were both fighting over the lead of the race. Going through turn 3, I was on the outside, Mr. Wiggles was on the inside. Got a slight snap of oversteer on the exit of the corner, slight contact with Wiggles, he went into the barrier. He didn't finish the race, I got a penalty and ended up losing a podium because of it. Easily done. Kement's trying to get in on the act now. Laps are running out. 13 of 18, remember, 3 points for first in this race. 2 points for second, 1 point for third. Ghost just running wide at turn 4. Ross is now into the lead perhaps. Mr. Wiggles, can he get around the outside now? No, but Ross can. He's got that move done. But it's just going to be another matter of time before the lead changes hands, you feel. I have to say, this is a proper fight. Mr. Wiggles driving superbly well. Again, you just see Mr. Wiggles braking slightly earlier. Doesn't want to overcommit to a move here, because even though he's alongside Ghost, he's only 2/10 behind Ross, the race leader. Ghost down the inside of turn 3. He's not going to get a good exit here. Wonder if Wiggles has his opportunity now. Looked like they were going to go 3 wide, but this fight kind of reminds me of when you were the youngest child. When your parents are talking to the oldest child and you're chatting about something really important and the youngest kid goes, "Hello, I'm still here, I want to play games. I want to get involved on this too, show me some love as well." Wiggles, very close. Ross gaining a bit of an advantage now. Ghost having to defend from Wiggles. Gets the move done. Wiggles really well to get up into second. He does have the DRS on the race leader, Ross. But now it's a change of hands for second place. Is Ghost going to go back down the inside at turn 3? This time Ross is a good chunk of space ahead. So Ghost had the opportunity to lunge, but now Wiggles, can he have a go at his own little lunge on Ghost? No, he can't. Bit of a slide into turn 4. Ross leads by 0.8 of a second now. This is the biggest gap he's had in this race. Not once has the leading car got out of DRS range from the cars behind. Ryan and Kement still awaiting a mistake from any of the drivers in front of them. Really can't take your eyes off this. Ripley is 4 seconds behind this group in 6th and still being pursued very closely by Lil Semp. However, Lil Semp does have a time penalty which is going to cost him a few seconds come the end of the race. He shouldn't lose 7th, but Ripley shouldn't fear to lose 6th. Lou is in 8th place and in acres of space right now. That guy, after collision with his teammate and forced into an early pit stop. That's why he's already done 10 laps on that set of soft tyres. He's in 9th, Tyler's Bear 10th, Deton 11th, Dayman 12th, Greg in 13th. Hyper and Prev have retired from this, but it's only a sprint race. There is a full race to come after this. Lap 16 of 18. After this time round, there will just be 2 laps remaining. Remember, points are on offer for the top 3. Of course we don't. One thing you might be wanting to see is what their ERS management is looking like, how much electrical charge they have to use. But we refrain from doing that in the race on this channel, so people can't say stream snipe. Try and get an advantage, knowing a bit of information that probably you shouldn't know. So we do keep it off for the race. Again, Wiggles you see braking a bit earlier than he wants to. This is definitely a contender for race of the season, even though it is only a 25% race. But it has been absolutely breathtaking. The fact there's been no contact between this top 5 in practically the whole race. And Ilsemp is out and he's crashed. Of course, no safety car. It's the last lap anyway. Ryan goes... Is that Ryan who's wide? I think Ryan and Clements both went wide. There goes Ghost into the lead of the race. Of course, last lap here, Ross can fight back with the DRS. That may have been a bad move from Ghost. Going for the overtake there, and there goes Ross into the lead of the race, or does he? Ghost forcing him side by side. Ross using overtake, gets the lead back ahead of Ghost. Wiggles still lying in wait. Mr. Wiggles, time penalty, and that's going to cost him 1 championship point. As it stands, he's going to lose out to Clements and Ryan, but Mr. Wiggles, who's been third wheeling this whole race between Ross and Ghost. Oh, and Ghost has lost it! Ghost has lost it out of the final corner. That is a massive shock. Ross wins the race. Clements, from out of nowhere, he was 5th coming out of turn 1 on that final lap. He finds himself in 2nd place in the sprint race. Ryan is 3rd because of Wiggles' penalty. Wiggles is 4th because Ghost had a moment out of the final corner. Ripley goes up to 5th based on Ghost's last corner as well. Flew 7th, that guy 8th, Dayman 9th, Tidy's Bear 10th, Deton 11th. Greg will finish in 12th place. Two distinct moments happened in that final lap. Mr. Wiggles with the time penalty, sending him to 4th, and Ghost losing it on throttle out of the final corner, it would seem, costing him 2nd place in this sprint race and costing him 2 points in the championship. Ross takes home the sprint victory by 2.4 seconds, and yes, it was as close as we made it out to be. He gets 3 championship points. Clements for finishing 2nd, he'll get 2 championship points. Ryan will get 1 more added on to his total, and this will be the grid for the feature race. Ross, Clements, Ryan, Wiggles, Ripley, Ghost, Flew, that guy, Dayman, Tidy's Bet, all in the top 10. Deton, Greg, Semp, Hyper, and Prev. That is the order in which they are going to start for the feature race. Well, Ross and Ghost went out for a lovely dinner here in Austria, and Wiggles was knocking on the door, trying to get his head involved in the date. In the end, Ross, oh, lovely voice crack, Ross getting the victory in the sprint and putting himself on pole for the feature race. Indeed, congrats Ross, says Kate in chat. I have to say, I mean, I've commentated on some great races before, but that was something else. Non-stop, not even separated by pit stops. and potential undercuts, which Ghost and Kemmons attempted, and Ripley attempted too. In the end, didn't make too much difference. Still a 5-way fight for the leads for the best part of 15 laps. And I wonder if we're going to see more of that in our feature race. Just going to change over lobbies just to make sure there's no glitches or problems. Now's a good time to update you on the championship standings and how that sprint race affects possible fights for the championship. Remember, this is round 6 of 13, so after this race we are effectively halfway through the championship. Ross did lead the championship by a nice healthy 40 points before France last week, but Ross DNF'd on lap 6, which means Mr. Wiggles, with the second place last week, has overtaken Ryan into second place. Ross leads Wiggles at the top of the championship by 22 points, but with Ross's extra 3 points, that means he has a full race win ahead in this championship. Still plenty of racing and laps to go. Mr. Wiggles in second place, level on points now with Ryan, who with that extra point puts his tally up to 62 alongside Mr. Wiggles. Prev is in fourth place, 12 points behind Wiggles and Ryan on 50. Then we have Flew, Chives, SL O'Connor, that guy Kemmons, and Fairley all in the top 10. As for Constructors, Haas are 5 points clear. Haas, the team of Lil Semp and Mr. Wiggles, they have 93 points in the championship. McLaren are 5 points behind, so super close at the top. Alfa Romeo and Aston Martin both on 76 points after that sprint race. So the top 4 teams all separated by 17 points. It is very close at the moment. AlphaTauri by no means out of it. They're only 31 points away from the lead of the championship. So that is the situation in terms of the championships. And only 4 penalty points dished out all season for any of these drivers. Flew Ross, that guy Ripley, all have 1. But it is a lot of points to go before they get a race ban. Just shows you how clean and consistent these drivers are, especially wheel to wheel racing. And we are going to be getting underway. We've lost Hyper, which is a shame, but 14 now for the race. Of course, the news dropped this week that the 1st of July this year, the new F1 game will be dropping. You can get it a few days early if you get the more expensive version. But that is exciting news. Lots of rumours, fake news perhaps on Facebook and other social media about whether crossplay will be featured on this new game. Should be exciting to see if any of those things will be added for the new game. Of course, our season runs up to, I think, the 18th of June. So it gives us a couple of weeks to have a bit of a break. And it is torrential downpour for the feature race. This is critical now. Obviously, drivers can come into the lobby, choose a setup, which means they can choose a wet setup if they want. Depends on what the weather's doing, of course, for the duration of the race. Free tyre choice. I mean, ordinarily it would be possibly a soft medium, but most probably the full wet tyres. That rain is coming down quite considerably. So we'll have to wait and see what's going on. Dayman, let us know. Is it full wets for the race? Is it going to be raining throughout the whole race, or is it going to dry up towards the end? Let us know what it's going to be doing in the chat. So we have a bit of a gauge as to what to expect in this race. You're gonna die in here. That's Greg in chat, by the way. That's just is it a Polish name, Greg? Have I got that right? Is that Polish? I think it's Polish. Yeah, cool. Starting on Inters. Looks like it will dry up at the end. Okay. So very interesting then. We thought the weather looked like it was going to be full wets, but clearly it's not sticking to the track as much as we thought it was. Question, of course, is going to be who is going to brave the slick tyres at the relevant lap. Is someone going to pit too early for the slicks? Is someone going to pit too late and lose a massive amount of time? Who's going to get the tyre strategy call spot on? Of course, safety cars are now coming into play. We don't have any for the sprint race, but obviously we have reduced safety car for this season. Should be getting underway very shortly. We'll remind you of the grids when they're on their formation lap. Remember, streams this week are going to be following this sprint race format. Short quali, 18 minutes, then an 18 lap sprint race, and then a 36 lap feature race where full points are on offer. So far they've done quali laps flat out. They've had a very tricky race in which a lot of wheel-to-wheel action means that you need to be careful not to bump into people, and now it's going to be a completely different race with the rain falling. I wonder who is best equipped for the rain. So here is your grid, and this is where people finished in the sprint race. Ross is on pole, Clements alongside on the front row of the grid, gained 3 places on the final lap of the sprint race. Ryan and Wiggles on the second row of the grid. Ripley and Ghost on row 3. Flew and that guy are on row 4. Dayman and Tidy as Bear round out the top 10 on row 5. Row 6 is occupied by Deton and Greg. Lil Semp and Prev are at the back of the field on row 7. And as you can see by the tyre graphic, everyone is on a brand new set of intermediate tyres. Question will be, if it does dry up, what lap is it going to dry up on, and what lap are people going to pit onto slicks? All these questions will be answered in the next 40 to 45 minutes. Are we going to see safety cars? Are we going to see more exciting wheel-to-wheel action like we have already seen? And Ripley disqualified from formation. That bit of contact with someone perhaps. His tyres might be a little bit colder off the line, so we may see Ripley going backwards towards the run down to turn 1, and maybe might not get a good exit out of turn 1 as well. So, Ghost started on pole for the sprint race. Ross won the sprint race. Are we going to see another change on the top step? In 36 short laps, we will find out. Intermediate tyres mean more drama. And who's going to get the best start? Feature race is underway, and Kempis has had a flyer. He is already alongside and into the lead. Side by side with Ross now in turn 1. Oh, someone's gone straight on. I think that's that guy. Missed his braking point. Clattering into Mr. Wiggles, who's down to 8th already. Ross and Kempis side by side into turn 3. We've got Mr. Wiggles and another send, this time by Ripley in the Mercedes. He's effectively done what that guy, I think, did at turn 1. So, drivers struggling to adapt at this moment in time to the wet weather. After all, they've just done half an hour to an hour of racing on dries. But now they're on inters. Things are different. Ross around the outside. Clements looking to fight up the inside. Ross with a bit of a wiggle. Ghost is in 3rd. He's already gained 3 places. Brian in 4th. Mr. Wiggles in 5th. Clements a little bit wide. And Ross, that's a good last corner. Applying the ERS. Trying to leave the space for Clements on the exit of turn 1. Ghost looking up the inside of Clements. Looks like he may have that move done. Little bit of oversteer for Clements, and Ryan behind. More for Clements. It's cost him 3rd place. Ghost is up into 2nd. And this is turning into a repeat of the sprint race. Ghost and Ross fighting over the race win. Meanwhile, Kemmets and Ryan lying in wait. Mr. Wiggles, meanwhile, is back up to 5th. He's ahead of Ripley. And he is on the back of Ryan, like Kemmets was a few minutes ago. Greg and Semp struggling. They are on a new set of inters. They both pitted this lap. They're just coming down towards turn 4 now. So they are a pit stop behind everyone else. Ross with a slight slide out of the final corner, as Wiggles as well. Prev, that guy, the two Aston Martins have already made contact tonight. They do not want to make contact. They're currently in 7th and 8th. Flew is in 9th and being overtaken or fighting side by side with Tidiest Bear. Deton also fighting with Tidiest Bear. Of course, in wet weather, no DRS, which means it's going to be down to who can manage the tyre wear, the traction, who can manage their ERS. Plenty of laps remaining. Still don't know who is perhaps more suited to this kind of weather. I know Ross is very good in the wet after driving with him for a long time. But Ghost is staying with him. Ghost had the slight edge in qualified on pole by a few tenths of a second. So no doubt here that Ghost has pace. Question is, does he have the pace in the wet compared to the dry? These two very much leading the pack of this division here tonight. Mr. Wiggles getting past Ryan down towards turn 4. Mr. Wiggles now has 1.2 seconds if he wants to get onto the podium. Needs to get past very stubborn driver Kemmets. Ripley, once again in 6th place, is defending from both Aston Martins of Prev and that guy. Ordinarily, they would get DRS behind Ripley, but not in the wet conditions. Too dangerous to have that rear wing open. Bit of a slide out of the first corner from Ross. Kemmets fighting hard to try and get in the slipstream of Ghost and try and get some straight line speed. With it being such a short track, there's not many places here to gain time in the wet. So you're going to have to be really consistent, don't make any mistakes, don't get any snaps of oversteer. And hope that when an overtake presents itself, you take it. Race is poised beautifully. Of course, another question is, alongside if the weather will dry up towards the end of the race, are people going to make a pit stop for new intermediate tyres at some point? That is another question that we're going to need to have answered over the course of this race. Ross, new fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 13.8. Compare that to the 1 minute 3.8 that Ghost did in qualifying in dry conditions. You can just see how much time the rain adds on to your lap time. Kemmets now 2 seconds behind this top two. Ross and Ghost very much in control, dictating the pace of this race. Kemmets not currently as fast as these top two. Still a podium up for grabs. Kemmets, Wiggles and Ryan all very close. This is the battle for third. Flew is in 9th place, and as in the sprint race, he has plenty of track space in front and behind him. He's 5 seconds behind that guy, 6 seconds ahead of Deton, who holds the final points place. Is defending hard from Dayman in 11th behind. Tyler's Berry's in 12th, and has just fallen off. Maybe he's had a couple of moments in this race that have lost him a big chunk of time. But he's 8 seconds away from Dayman. Lil Semp and Greg with early pit stops. They'll be fighting hard and hoping perhaps for a safety car to bunch the field up and bring them back into contention for some points tonight. Mr. Wiggles just falling away slightly from Kemmets. Kemmets finding some pace on this lap. Gap reducing slightly to the top two. Ripley, 3-second time penalty. Of course, at this stage in the race, Ripley is going to lose 2 places, but to gain 3 seconds on someone in 30 laps isn't too bad. As Ghost picks up a 3-second time penalty. Plenty of time for more penalties. Kemmets starting to close now on Ghost, who has just dropped out of 1 second window from Ross here, so I wonder if Ghost has had a bit of a slide perhaps out of the final corner and lost a couple of tenths of a second. Three Mercedes powered cars fighting for 6th. Ripley currently holding the advantage. Prev defending from his teammate. Ripley just making a mistake there out of turn 4, and Prev has a nice little run. He's now on the back of that Mercedes. Ripley did have about 8 or 9 tenth advantage, and Wiggles has spun. Coming back onto the track, he is ghosted, so no harm doing there, but unfortunately for Wiggles, unforced area looks like. Kemmets meanwhile is really pushing. Ghost is back within a second now of Ross. Kemmets is dragging himself back into the race. Of course, Kemmets doesn't need to overtake Ghost on track. He can just stay within 3 seconds of Ghost. All 3 of these cars now up into 5th, 6th and 7th. All running wide slightly at turn 1. Feeling the pressure perhaps. Rain is getting thinner. Doesn't mean that... Oh, and move from that guy. Bit of contact with his teammate. Not for the first time tonight. But no harm done. Prev retains 6th. Gaps starting to form throughout all of the track. This is the closest fight on track. Ross with the new fastest lap puts the pressure back on Ghost, who is slightly falling into Kemmets' clutch. Kemmets has brought that gap down from 2.2 seconds about 4 laps ago, now down to 1.3. So Kemmets is on the charge. Ghost is losing out fractions of a second to Ross each lap. Ryan is still within striking distance, I would say, if anyone makes a mistake, but He's starting to slip away from that top 3. Lap 10 of 36. Ripley still defending from these 2 behinds. All of a sudden now, Ghost pushing desperately to try and put the pressure back on Ross. Ghost with the new fastest lap of the race. Closes that gap out front to 5 tenths once again. Clement's now 1.5 away from Ghost. So Ghost has had a decent lap there. Lap 10 goes down as a major tick in his box. Tidy is bare with a time penalty. He's currently in 12th place. On board with that, guys, to see just how tricky these conditions are. Rain is still falling here in Austria, which means no cause for changing onto any other compound of tyres at the moment. Bit of contact. You saw just how I'm not going to say panicked, little flick of the steering wheel there from that guy, but just sense that when you brake, and sometimes you brake a little bit too late, you can kind of see when some contact is going to happen. It's all about how you correct yourself in those moments. Obviously, one moment of contact could cost you either bits of your front wing or might send you off track. That guy just running wide there at turn 9. He gets a 3-second time penalty alongside Ghost, Ripley, Deton and Tidy is bare. This battle here for 5th very much reminding me of when you're just so similar in pace to another driver that you just can't get... You're not falling away, but you're not really gaining time either. You can't really get an overtake because you're lapping at a very similar pace, if not an identical pace. Gap out front, 1 second. Ross leads this race. Has done from the very start. Ghost started in 6th up to 2nd. Clement started on the front row of the grid alongside Ross, but losing out to Ghost in the first few laps. Brian is in 4th and losing, I'd say, maybe a 10th or 2 a lap on the top 3. Those top 3 only separated by 2 seconds. Still, anyone's guess who's going to win this race. That guy a little bit wide at turn 1, may have got a warning, may have got away with it. Just have to wait and see. Before you know it, this guy here, Mr. Wiggles, had a spin in sector 3 earlier this race. You can see him struggling a little bit with traction. He is fighting to make that a 4-way fight for 5th place. Meanwhile, Dayman has been behind Eton for pretty much this entire race. For the final points slot, Eton has a penalty at the moment. Dayman will get past if this was the final lap. Top 3, sorry, coming around the first corner now. Ryan not awfully far behind when you look at the track map, but is 5 seconds off of the leads. Mr. Wiggles is now very much in the fight for P5, however still has 3 Mercedes powered cars if he wants to achieve 5th place in this race. 5th place, I'd say, is probably the best that Mr. Wiggles can hope for right now, unless a safety car comes out and bunches the field back up. Back on board now with that guy. Contact between Prev and Ripley. Seemed like there was anything too noteworthy for a steward there. Prev alongside Ripley now, half a car length ahead. Ripley not giving up the place. That guy forced wide. Ripley bit of contact. He's lost a couple of places in this. That guy a little bit wide at the final corner. Ripley struggling with traction. And after 14 laps of very persistent pressure, Prev and that guy are ahead of Ripley's Mercedes and perhaps are released. We'll have to wait and see if Prev can start to build a bit of a gap on his teammate. Out front, Ross leading by only half a second. Kamets still lying in wait. 2 seconds separates the top 3. Mr. Wiggles had to do a very good job in terms of being aware of other drivers in the sprint race. This is sim racing at its finest. Remember, these drivers run no assists, and in these wet conditions that is no easy feat. A little bit wide there from Wiggles, but he's past Ripley. Ripley meanwhile gets a better exit out of turn 1 perhaps. I think Wiggles probably has better straight line speed there. Ripley was using a lot of overtake down towards turn 3, but not really gaining any time. Bit of a slide from Wiggles. Ripley now alongside, half a car length ahead into the braking zone. Wiggles looking for a lunge. Ripley better traction and stays in 7th. Meanwhile, Prev and that guy have a nice opportunity here to build a bit of a gap on these two. Goes wide, Ripley does. Mr. Wiggles alongside. Meanwhile, Lil Semp is into the pits for mediums, and Ghost has followed suit. Is this a stroke of genius from Ghost Tomino, or is this a moment of madness? This is where we're really going to tell. Ghost comes out in between Wiggles and Ripley, and there is DRS enabled, which means it's kind of at the crossover now between slick tyres being faster. We'll have a look and see if Ghost gets a good exit out of turn 3. Still pretty even. His tyres are still getting up to temperature here. Ghost definitely a lot more confident on the brakes. And Mr. Wiggles, Deton, Dayman, Tylersberg, Greg all into the pits for mediums. Our race leader Ross is now into the pits. Will Ghost be able to get past? Ghost forcing his way past Mr. Wiggles there, as if the lead of the race depended on it. Has Ghost gained a lot of time being on those dry tyres, or has he lost time being stuck behind Wiggles? Everyone is into the pits now. No one is staying out. It is the right lap to come in. Question is, has Ghost nailed this pit stop? No, he hasn't. He lost just a little bit too much time there behind Mr. Wiggles. Ghost finds himself a second away from the race lead. Interestingly, Flew has stayed out on the intermediate tyres, maybe thinking that they're kind of at a similar pace right now. We'll have to manage the gap between Flew and Prev, but Flew is wide at turn 3. He gets a 3-second penalty to add insult to injury, tidy as bear, and Kemmons getting time penalties too. And that could very well decide the winner of this race. Ghost and Kemmons, both with time penalties, and Ghost has had a moment. Ghost is off. A spin for him. Maybe the track isn't quite ready for those slick tyres. Maybe he needs to be super cautious on them. And Ghost, just as we saw at the very end of the sprint race, at the final corner on the final lap, has had a spin. Ghost will be hoping that a safety car can bring him back into contention here. Flew again, staying out, but is losing a massive amount of time to those behind. Mr. Wiggles in 6th, only 1 second behind Flew, and you can just see how those mediums are the right tyre to be on right now. Flew was only 0.3 behind going into turn 4, and he's now 1.3 behind coming out of turn 4. He's losing a second a corner, is Flew. I have to say, definitely not the right tyre strategy. Unfortunately for Flew, he's going to lose out a lot of time here. And what we are starting to see is Kemmons losing pace. Now, I reckon that is because of his setup. I think Kemmons has gone for a bit more downforce, possibly a fully wet setup. As a result, Ross has now pulled an 8-second lead over these two, who are once again battling in Austria. Flew does pits. Maybe he was just waiting a couple of laps so he could put those soft tyres on. Maybe that was his plan. But it seems like he's lost a lot of time in the process. And you can just see Kemmons not quite having the pace that he did in the sprint race. Nor Ryan. Ross with the fastest lap of the race, 106.2 compared to the 1 minute 13.8 they were doing on Inters. Gap fully spread out, with the exception of Flew and Dayman, who are on the back of Deton for 8th place. That guy has pitted and he's down to 12th. So I wonder if that guy has some damage that we didn't know about, that he's just had to replace his front wing. Ross leads this race by 8.8 seconds, and that gap is increasing. A safety car here would be bad news for our race leader. Ryan has no time penalty, but Kemmons and Ghost do. Ghost is starting to close that gap to Kemmons. We could see a battle between Kemmons and Ghost for the final podium slot. Mr. Wiggles with a spin in the rain earlier dropped him down to 8th, but he's done really well to fight back up to 5th. Go on board now with Deton, who has Dayman behind him and Flew in front of him. Deton wide at the final corner. Might have got a warning for that. That guy sets a new fastest lap of the race. Tidy as Bear, meanwhile, is into the pits. and will be lapped by our race leader Ross, who's coming around the final corner now to start lap 23. Ross leads by 9.2 seconds and looks dead set to win this race, barring any mistakes or any safety cars. Dayman getting a 3-second time penalty. Adding on to his time, here's a look at the penalties. 3 seconds for Kemmets, Ghost, Wiggles, Flew, Deton, Dayman, that guy, and Greg. Ripley, Tidy's Bear have 6 seconds to their name. Back following this fight now for P2. Right, Ryan holds the advantage on Kemmets. Kemmets has the time penalty. Ryan has the track position, but doesn't have the DRS, which might be crucial. Tidy's Bear making that now 9 seconds of penalties, but he is last, so shouldn't cost him too much. Flew has done really well to get out of Deton's DRS window there, up into 8th, and now 1.2 seconds ahead of Deton in 9th. So Flew has done really well to alleviate some of the pressure he has from behind him. Ross now leads by 10 seconds. At this point, Ross can start to cruise, perhaps save the tyres if he needs to save some fuel, make sure he gets to the end of the race. Can do. He's under no pressure, and all of a sudden, Ghost, from out of nowhere, has now arrived on the scene. This is the battle for second, but really the battle is between Kemmets and Ghost for the final podium slot. In the next 5 or so laps, we'll be having a bit of a conversation about who deserves driver of the day tonight, and that isn't just for this race. It doesn't have to be the person who's gained the most places on the grid from where they started. It could be the person who's most consistent, the person who's driven the socks off of that car, even if they're not the fastest or if they are the fastest in this lobby. It could be anyone who deserves it. Of course, we've got a qualifying session, a sprint race and a feature race to draw from. If you have any suggestions for driver of the day, let us know in the chat. Always appreciate a second opinion. Ripley and Prev. What's happening between them two? Prev's had an off. Ripley is now up into 6th. Rear wing open for Kemmets. Ghost not in the DRS range of the Honda powered Red Bull. Might cost him in the long run, and Wiggles is out, and he has crashed at the exit of turn 4. And that brings out a virtual safety car, which now turns into a full safety car. There you can see Wiggles has had a moment somewhere, and he is out of the race. This is bad news for Ross. He was leading by 10 seconds. He had the race win in his grasp. Now Ryan, Ghost and Kemments all pit onto softs. Kemments has lost a big chunk of time in the pits and is now in 4th. And in comes Ripley, in comes Prev and Flew, in comes Deton, Dayman, all boxing for a new set of soft tyres. That guy and Semp won't be racing into the pits, they'll both come in though and put on a new set of soft compound tyres. Greg has already done so. In comes our race leader Ross, and Ross should easily come out into the lead of the race. 28 seconds was the gap coming into the pits, so Ross should have no problem here. In maintaining the lead. Ross will get picked up by the safety car, who is just waiting in the entrance to turn 3. You can see Ross slowing down, doesn't want to give himself any unnecessary penalty. Greg overtaking Ross, possibly illegally. I think Greg wants to unlap himself here, but don't know if that's allowed. That guy speeding under Delta. He'll have to serve a drive-through once this safety car has come back into the pits. Safety car now picking up the fields. Lap 28 of 36, which means there should be plenty of time for everyone to catch up to the back of the pack. That got into the pits and out of the pits on a new set of softs. He can't serve his drive-through though. Has to wait until after the safety car comes in, and this is the penalty situation, and this is when the penalty situation comes crucial. Ross leads, Ryan in second. Ross had a 10-second lead, but that's now gone. Everyone on a new set of soft tyres, so no difference in terms of tyre wear. This is going to be a 6 or 7 lap sprint to the finish. Still waiting on Ripley downwards to catch up to the safety car queue. Time penalties will be added to the end of the race, which means Lil Semp probably will jump up a position or 2 on the end. Prev might end up on the podium. You never know. Ryan might even win this race after being 10 seconds behind. Anything can still happen, and I was going to talk about driver of the day now, but I think it's probably more appropriate waiting until the end of the race to see who comes out on top after this very late safety car. Stream approaching 2 hours now. Appreciate everyone who's stuck around. Of course, 4 new follows tonight, which we are very appreciative of, so thank you. We've seen everything. We've seen some blistering quali lap times. We've seen a 5-way fight for the leads for practically 15 straight laps in the sprint race. We've seen changeable conditions in this feature race. We've seen time penalties galore. we've seen the leader have a 10-second lead cut down to 3/10, as I think Tidy's Bear warming his tyres on the grass. Lap 30 of 36. We'll keep the penalty graphic on the screen. We all know what tyres people are on. The safety car is in this lap for that guy who is at the back of the field. He won't have a chance to catch up. He's got a drive through anyway, so it shouldn't matter too much for him. So between laps 31 and the end of 36, we still don't know who's going to win. Prev could be on the podium, Lil Semp could be higher up in the points, Ross could win, Ryan could win, anyone could make a mistake, anyone could have an accident or an incident that sends them to the back. Ross has gone for it now, out of turn 9. To say, not too shabby. Don't think Ryan got caught napping there, but definitely Ross got the better exit. Ghost, meanwhile, up into seconds. However, got another 3 seconds of time penalties in turn 1, which is definitely, or definitely could, send him off the podium. He was going to stay ahead of Kemetz on time penalties, but that extra time penalty now has put Ghost in a situation where he needs to gain 3 seconds on Kemetz and needs to make sure that he finishes 6 seconds ahead of Prev in 6th place. Ross with a fastest lap, a 1 minute 5.4, and those lap times are going to be tumbling. DRS is still not enabled yet until lap 3 after the safety car has come in, so the start of lap 33, DRS will be enabled. Ghost is homing now in on the back of Ross's McLaren. Kemetz is now up ahead of Ryan, but Ryan should leapfrog Kemetz on time penalties and Ghost. So it's not doom and gloom for Ryan. He's in quite a nice little situation here. He does need to make sure that he doesn't make any mistakes, he doesn't get any penalties. He might not have a chance at the race win here. Definitely P2 is still on the cards. Ghost has been forced now to push flat out. DRS is now enabled, which means Ghost, after a beautiful first corner, is going to retake, well, take the lead of the race for the first time in this feature race. Ross doesn't have to do anything heroic here. He can sit behind that Ferrari, or he can fight back. This is a very interesting fight now for the lead. It's a 5-way fight, as we saw in the sprint race. This time it's Ghost leading Ross, followed by Kemetz, Ryan, Ripley. Ripley has 9 seconds, Kemetz and Ghost have 6 seconds. So potentially, none of those 3 will finish on the podium. Just have to wait and see whether Prev can stay within a certain amount of time at the end of the race. Greg, another time penalty. There goes Ripley past Ryan. Dayman is out and has crashed at the exit of turn 1. It won't bring out a safety car. We're too far into this race now, too close to the end, should I say, for another safety car to come out. Good fight here. Ripley forcing that Mercedes up the inside and actually leaving space on the exit, which is very, very good. That is what we expect from these drivers. A bit of wheel contact between the two. Ross leads this race. Ending of lap 34. 2 times. Been driving for 2 hours here tonight. 2 more laps to go. Ross is in the driving seat. Leads on track. Leads on time penalties. Ryan and Ripley are still going at it. Flew, meanwhile, has had a really good restart. He's up to 6th place. And he's now ahead of Prev. Lil Semp is up into 8th, and if he plays his cards right, could find himself jumping ahead of some more drivers. Prev and Flew going side by side in turn 3. These top 3 separated by 0.6 of a second. Tidiest Bear taking his tally of time penalties to beyond the amount of participants in this race. 18 seconds now for Tidiest Bear. As it stands, Ross is going to win, Ryan's going to be second, and possibly Ghost is going to be on the 3rd step of the podium. However, Clements might have something to say about that. It's going to be a very frantic final lap of the race. And such a shame for Dayman. Consecutive points finishes is over. We've done extremely well to have 5 in a row, and Clements has lost it. Unforced error. Lost it on the throttle. Ghost takes the lead, but it won't mean anything. Ripley now finds himself in 3rd, but he won't keep it. There goes Ross down the inside. These two still fighting. Ross doesn't need to do this, but he wants to win on track. These drivers are very, very passionate about their racing. Ghost and Ross. This has been the story of the night. Ghost set the fastest lap in quali. Ross won the sprint race, and Ross wins the feature race, this time on time penalties. Ryan finishes 2nd as we predicted. Prev makes his way onto the podium by keeping it clean. Nice result from him. Ghost is in 4th, Flew 5th, Sampin 6th. Good result for them too. Deton in 8th, Clements in 9th after that spin, and bits of his Red Bull are everywhere. Greg is in 10th. Rounding off the points, that guy 11th, Tidiest Bear in 12th. Well, in a race that started out on intermediate tyres, in a race that really was rather spectacular. Prev, excellent driving. You saw him having a battle with Ripley for 6th, but finds his way onto the podium by keeping it clean. Up 11 places in this feature race. Great performance there from Prev after crashing out of the sprint, or retiring, sorry, out of the sprint race. Ross winning, and have to say, definite contender of driver of the day tonight. Ryan keeping it clean, even though he did struggle for pace sometimes here tonight, but just rewards for that consistency. He finds himself on the podium in 2nd place. Ghost definitely had the pace tonight, but just a few penalties, a couple too many for him. He finishes in 4th, Flew, Semp, Ripley, Deton, Clements, Greg, and Greg finishing in the points. That guy and Tidiest Bear out of the points. That guy does take the fastest lap of the race, but doesn't get the point. on his championship total. Wiggles with a DNF, which brought out the safety car, which made the ending very spectacular indeed. And Dayman is still classified, but his points streak comes to an end. So as for driver of the day, I think there's really only one person we can give it to. Ross. Thoroughly spectacular racing, incredible pace in quali. Only started in 4th, but not too far away from the front row of the grid. Brilliant performance and great battles with Ghost all throughout tonight. Bossed it in the wet, no penalties at all, and gets the race win. Ross takes maximum points from the sprint race here in Austria for the no assist division and gets driver of the day in the process. And if you enjoyed that, we got 3 more sprint races coming up this week. Join us on Thursday night for Assist Tier 1. On Saturday night, the F2 division will be in Austria as well. And on Sunday night, rounding out your week and your weekend, join us for the Assist Tier 2 coverage. Again, all with the sprint race format. Boo, you hate everything, says Wiggles. Well, unfortunate throughout that race, but some moments of magic there from you, Wiggles. It's been a pleasure to commentate on this race and to watch the action happen. There will be blood Thursday. Well, I'll make sure I'm not in that blood fight. GG guys indeed, says Kate. And thank you to everyone who's been in the chat. Thank you for the 4 new followers tonight. Really appreciate that on the channel. It helps us a lot. Indeed, see you Thursday. And yeah, have a good week guys.